Hello, hello. I'm really excited then to support you today with this topic. I've got my notes as usual to make sure that I'm not going off on tangents. So if you see me looking down, that is exactly why, to make sure that we stay on track and I cover everything that I wanted to cover today. So as always, I'm Rebecca Lockwood, your neuro-linguistic programming trainer, hypnosis trainer and breakthrough coach trainer. And I'm super excited to be supporting you today with self-sabotage. How do I deal with self-sabotage? So the first thing really is understanding what is self-sabotage and why does it happen. So self-sabotage is, you may have heard you may have heard this phrase thrown around a little bit. You may have heard people talking about it or people saying it. You may not understand what it means. You may have just not. Or you may not have really heard about it before. So self-sabotage is when we sabotage our efforts of achieving the things that we want to achieve before we achieve it or after we've achieved it. So to give you an example, you may have heard this story before. In my previous business, I had a business for just over 3 years before I had this business. It was a really successful business. I was a fashion consultant and it was called Recoco Woman. We did ladies' clothing, handbags, accessories, and we brought the store to your door. So we did ladies' shopping parties. I used to say we turned living rooms into boutiques and bedrooms into changing rooms, and we had a team of fashion consultants who worked with us, and we were growing the company throughout the UK. The business was kind of getting to the point where we were getting ready for a big growth phase. We were taking on investment opportunities. A guy who was invested in Next Thompson Holidays and places like that was interested in investing in the company. I was on the biggest growth accelerator in the world, and things looked like they were going pretty amazing. I was getting tons of PR, winning business awards, and things on the outside looked like they were going amazing. But for some reason, I never felt as though I deserved the success that I had created. And after, I think it was just over 3 years of having the business, I closed the business and decided I didn't want to do it anymore. It was only until I studied neuro-linguistic programming that I came to the realization that it was a big self-sabotage. I sabotaged my success because I didn't believe I was worthy of having that success. And that caused me to create a behavior of closing the business, which sabotaged it. Now, this can look completely different. This is messing up relationships, messing up things that you've really worked hard to achieve. You've got them and then you've done something, and you may not be aware that you've done it. So at the time of closing my business, I wasn't aware that I was causing myself self-sabotage. What I was saying to myself was, I no longer want this business. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm going to close it. That was what I had going on in my head. It was just, I didn't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And that was it. I had this massive block. I was just like, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm just going to close it. Didn't even attempt to sell a business. I just closed it. How crazy is that? So that was my self-sabotage. And there have been loads of things I've done in the years which has been a form of self-sabotage, but that is probably the biggest. So again, this can come in so many different forms. It can be in, if you're trying to lose weight, and then you still find yourself snacking on unhealthy things that you know is not going to serve you. It could be in a relationship. You're in a fantastic relationship, but then you cause arguments, or you think your partner causes arguments, and that causes, real uncomfort in the relationship, or causes a breakup. It could be cheating in a relationship. That is a really common one that I see a lot. People being in a really, really good relationship, but then cheating on the partners, and that is a classic form of self-sabotage. And so there are so many different ways that we can see this, and it manifests in different people's lives in different ways. But there are just a few examples. So that is what self-sabotage is. Basically, it is born from a limiting belief, and usually the limiting belief is something along the lines of, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve that, I'm not enough to have that, right? And these are the beliefs that go on at the unconscious level. So we may not consciously be aware of it, but at the subconscious or unconscious level, that means the same thing. We are still running that program at that level that we may not necessarily be aware of in our conscious awareness. So I talk about the differences between conscious and subconscious in the Change Your Mind, Change Your Life training. So if you've not checked that out yet, please do go check it out. You'll love it. And so what happened then when I closed my business, my classic form of self-sabotage, I had a limiting belief of I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy of having that success. So like I said, I didn't consciously know this, but because I believed that unconsciously, I acted in accordance with that belief, which caused me to tell myself I wanted to close the business, right? At the height of success. So the first thing then is understanding what is self-sabotage. So in a roundabout way, and that is what self-sabotage is. It is born from a limiting belief, and then we project that belief out into the world, which creates our behaviour and our results. The second thing then is to identify what is the belief that you have that's causing you to self-sabotage. What is the belief that you have that is causing you to self-sabotage? So really getting to the bottom of what is the belief that you believe at the unconscious level that's causing this behaviour? What is it that's making you create this behaviour in your life that's self-sabotage, right? And there are a couple of ways that we can do this. You can journal. So just getting a pen and a piece of paper and just writing whatever comes out of your mind and your heart, whatever you think, just sit and write it down. There's no right or wrong way to journal. Just sit down and write it all out. Another thing that we can do is we can take note of our inner self-talk. So what is going on in your mind? What is the negative self-talk that you have going on? So for example, if you get up in the morning and you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you say to yourself? Yeah? So I used to say things to myself like, oh, you look disgusting. Oh, look at the state of your arms. Oh, you're not wearing that, it makes you look awful. And those are the kinds of things that I was saying to myself in my mind. And this was certainly not helping me feel empowered. And sometimes I wasn't even consciously aware of what this self-talk was. So when we start to really become aware and take notice of our self-talk, it will really help us come to an understanding of what is the limiting belief that you've got going on. So the first thing to help identify your limiting beliefs is journaling. The second thing was to take note of your inner self-talk. And then what we can do as well is we can look back and think about what are the recurring patterns that have happened in your life that you may find are very similar. So to give you an example, before I met my husband, and it actually did manifest itself in the relationship that I'm in now, but thankfully I knew how to deal with it. But before I met him, I would have this recurring situation in relationships where I believed a certain belief, like, I can't remember exactly what it was now, but it was something along the lines of it not, like the relationship not working, like me having to do everything, and it caused arguments in previous relationships. And I can say 2 or 3 relationships that I had before I met my husband, it was a recurring pattern. And I noticed it manifest itself in the relationship that I'm currently in. And this is such a classic form of self-sabotage, because it was actually me causing the conflict, because it was me that had the belief that that I had to do everything, and I had to be the one that took care of everything. And I learned that lesson through going through the NLP training, that it was me that was causing this belief to happen, which was causing the argument. But previously, I used to think it was them, because they're the ones that are making me have to do everything. They're the ones that are not making decisions. They're the ones that are not directive. They're the ones, right? And when I realized that actually it was my belief and it was me that was causing this, I was then able to change that belief and change that behavior, which stopped the argument, right? Which stopped the relationship breaking up, okay? So that's an example of looking at recurring patterns. So I discovered that there was a recurring pattern in my life of arguments in relationships, and it was a recurring pattern. So when this happens, what we can do is we can ask ourselves, okay, first, what is the limiting belief that is causing this to happen? Secondly, what do I need to learn from this situation? What is the lesson that I've not yet learned that is causing it to which is causing it to keep coming back, okay? And also, what we can do then is ask which I just said, ask what do I need to learn. So the first thing was understanding what is self-sabotage, where does it come from? Second thing, identifying what the limiting belief is that you have. Underneath that, we can journal to understand it, take note of that inner self-talk, look at recurring patterns that are happening in our lives, and then ask ourselves, what do I need to learn from the situation that I've not yet learned, which is causing it to reoccur? Okay. Then what we can do is become really clear on what it is that you're wanting to achieve. Right? So what is the success that you're creating that you keep self-sabotaging, right? That you keep sabotaging. So becoming really clear and really intentional on what it is that you want to achieve that you keep sabotaging will really help, because when you know that you can stay focused on that one thing, you can keep working towards that thing, whether it's losing weight, being in a relationship, gaining a relationship, and keeping a relationship going, having a successful business, making a certain amount of money, selling a certain amount of your course, or whatever it is, right? So once you're intentional on that and you can keep focused on moving towards that, you will become really aware of the behaviors that may be sabotaging you achieving them things, right? And this will really help, because when you notice that sabotaging behavior begin to manifest itself, you'll be able to stop yourself and take note, like, okay, what do I need to learn here? What is the lesson that I've not yet learned that keeps this pattern and keeps this reoccurring? Okay. The next thing then that we can do, which is really going to help you release these limiting beliefs and release any fears that may be coming up around this, is write a list of all of the reasons why you cannot do the thing that you're wanting to do. So when you're clear on the success, like what the success is, when you're clear on what the success is that you're wanting to create, that you keep sabotaging upon, once you're clear on that success, write a list of all the reasons why you cannot do that one thing, right? I know, cannot, yes. So when I first set up this business over 4 years ago now, when I first ever created this business, I had a real fear of doing live videos, right? I was like, I cannot do live videos because people will judge me. I cannot do live videos because my hair is frizzy. And people will be like, why should I listen to someone who's got frizzy hair? I cannot do live, and I'm being serious, this was my list. I cannot do live videos because people will judge me. I cannot do live videos because people who I went to school with might see it and might remember how I was at school and then think, who is she to tell me this stuff? Yeah, and the list goes on. And, you know, it sounds quite lighthearted now and quite funny now, but back then it was a real fear. It felt like there was a brick wall there, right? And going live and doing video may not be the thing that you're sabotaging about. It may be being in a relationship. It may be causing arguments in your relationship. It may be that you believe there are arguments coming from the other side. And I would still say to explore that and explore what is if there is any behaviors coming from your part. And really write a list of everything that comes up for you, all the fears, like, why are you scared to do this? Why can you not do this? What's going to happen if you don't do this? What's going to happen if you do this? Write a list of all the things that you can think about, and do this every single day until the list is gone, right? And then what I want you to do is I want you to go through each thing in that list and just say the simple words, I see you, I love you, I forgive you, and go through the list. And what you'll find is the energy around the fear and around the limiting belief will start to release. And at the unconscious level, again, the energy will start to release, and you'll start to let go of the energy that you're holding around it, which should end up changing the behavior, which will then change the way that you perceive it, which will change the way you project it out into the world, which creates your behaviors, which creates your results, right? Okay, so that's it from me. Let me know how you get on with this, and if you need anything at all, please do reach out to us in the group. I'll be live again next Monday with a hot topic that people are asking for. This was a really, really common one. Let me know how you get on with it. Let me know if you can relate, if there's something specific that you think that you might be sabotaging. As always, I'm Rebecca Lockwood, your neuro-linguistic programming trainer, hypnosis trainer and breakthrough coach trainer. Have an amazing week, and me and the team are here if you need anything at all.